Hello everyone and welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I am your host, Stan Rattan, and this is the Blue Collar Wine Program, and I've been very excited about this one because we're going to talk about different ways to decant wine. Now, I know that a lot of you out there do not decant your wine. You uncork it, you pour it in a glass, you drink it. They say the national average is everybody usually polishes off a bottle of wine within an hour after they get home. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, I understand that. We're in a busy society. We've got lots to do. You know, go ahead and do it. But decanting can enhance your experience of your wine, and there's different ways to do that. And I'm going to examine a couple of different ways, and we're going to see how it turns out. See if there's really any benefit to doing any of these things, or is it just meaningless? I know it's really not meaningless, but let's see how this turns out. That's the idea. So what I'm using as a base is, move this out of the way, is 2011 Counoise from Writer's Block, part of the Steel Winery, one of their second labels. So let's take a look at this. Get it in the picture there. Oh, glass out of the way. Let's get that in there. There we go. So Writer's Block Counoise, it's one of those kind of wines that you see very few wineries do it as a varietal, so to speak. So what we're going to do is we're going to first of all try it in a glass. This bottle's only been open for maybe 10 minutes. I've got two different decanters here. I've got two different styles of decanters. I have the Venturi, and then I have a blender, because there is a way of decanting your wine called hyper-decanting. It's become a little bit vogue these days. I've only tried it one other time since this time. The reason I'm using this Counoise from Shooting Star, or excuse me, Writer's Block, is because I've had this wine on a few occasions where I poured it right out of the bottle. It was good, but after it had sat for a couple of days, it was amazing how the spices and things came out of it. Counoise is a varietal that they use in Chateauneuf-du-Pape as a blending wine, mainly because of its spiciness, very low in tannins. Normally you would think of decanting a Bordeaux or an older Rioja or a wine that you want to aerate to bring out some of the flavors. Now, I know a lot of you probably think about decanting when you're doing an expensive wine. Maybe you don't. But this one rolls only at 15 bucks. And the reason I used it, again, it doesn't have to be expensive to think about decanting or doing one of these different methods. So we're going to see how this turns out. It's going to be kind of fun. Does it really taste different from just in the glass to wine through the Venturi, and then blended, and then in the different decanters. So let's give it a whirl. Let's see what happens. So we'll give our wines a quick rinse here. I know decanting is one of those things that a lot of wine writers and different wine geeks preach. And I think it's important. I don't get a chance to do it a lot because when I'm reviewing wines, if I'm decanting a lot, it does take some time. I do try to open the bottle, you know, a half hour to an hour before I actually review it. But I try to keep it in the parameters of where I think most people do taste their wines, as I've said before. But I do encourage decanting because it does enhance the wine tasting experience. So let's taste this fresh out of the bottle. By the way, these other ones, I had two bottles of the same wine, so I decanted some of these about 2 hours ago. So then I opened this fresh bottle just a few minutes ago. So let's see how it is right out of the bottle. So a little challenged on the nose. I'm getting a little bit of raspberry fruit on the nose, maybe just a slight cherry hint. A little bit of minerality, but it's, you know, that's not hugely aromatic. Let's see what we get on the palate. Let's see if I don't splash myself today. So again, that cherry raspberry fruit comes through. A little tiny hit of spice on the back end. Very smooth on the palate. get a little creaminess on the mid palate. It's definitely delicious, decent finish. So fresh out of the bottle, I'd give this wine probably a B-. So let's see what happens when we run it through the Venturi. Now these are kind of expensive. I got this as a gift. I certainly wouldn't have bought one myself, but I appreciate it. So what this does is it aerates the wine as you pour through it into your glass. You can, let's see if you can see the bubbles on that. Let's zoom it in there. You kind of see the froth on the top of the glass. So you know what aerates it a little bit? Let's see what we get. Now, well, the nose, you know, not hugely different on the nose. I still get that raspberry cherry element. I can't say that it is really any different than straight out of the bottle on the nose. So let's see how it is on the palate. Still smooth. I think I get a little bit more grittiness on the palate when after the Venturi stirred up some of the dirt. Still creamy on the mid palate. Actually, the spice element kind of disappeared. I get a little bit of it. Still very delicious. Pretty much the same wine, although I do get a little bit of that grip on the back end, which I didn't get straight out of the bottle. So it altered it a little bit. I wouldn't say it altered it a lot. Not sure if it's worth going out and spending the money. Sorry guys. Maybe, maybe not. It's up to you. It's pretty cool watching it do the whole aeration thing. Now let's pour a little bit in the blender. Now I brought this blender. You guys are going, this guy nuts, right? Hyper-decanting has become sort of an in thing. Like I said, I've only done it one other time before. People also microwave their wine for a few seconds to age it, so to speak. I've never done that. I'm not sure if I want to. But let's give it about 10 to 15 seconds. All right, yeah. I don't know if you can see that. See if we can get a shot of that. Obviously it is foaming up quite a bit. Excuse me. Let's get over here. Sorry. See that big frothiness on the, see that? Really frothed it up. It was interesting when I did it before. It actually did. This has a cool little, I'm not going to use that though. There we go. So let's see how it is. Oh, sorry. I forgot to zoom back out. There you go. Let's see how it is now after a little bit of that. Hyper-decanting. I won't even tell you what bottle we hyper-decanted with a friend of mine who I refer to as Dionysus. Loaned a bottle of a very expensive wine to us that we experiment with hyper-decanting. So, on the nose, I don't, again, not a discernible difference on the nose. Still get that dusty component, very light raspberry cherry notes. Not a lot there. And that could just be the wine as far as aromatics. Let's see what we get on the palate. Definitely a different element on the palate. It did change it. A lot more chocolate. I get a huge amount, like a chocolate cherry element. It's not extremely dramatically different. But wow, the chocolate is incredible. I mean, that's crazy, that chocolate element that comes out. A little cherry, there's a spicy element on the backside. The grit is still there, but actually, I would have to say that hyper-decanting it for about 10 to 12 seconds definitely brought out a different characteristic in the wine. It'd be fun for you guys to experiment with that if you want to. It's kind of cool what it does to the wine. Definitely changed it. Again, kind of subjective as to which one you would like, but it definitely brought out more depth to the wine. There's a spiciness, there's a grip, there's that chocolate element. Yeah, absolutely did it different. It affected it, absolutely. Now I have a small decanter and a little bigger decanter. Can you see those? Okay, yeah. So I did this because the small decanter has a wider opening on the top. The bigger decanter, a little just slightly smaller, but a bigger surface on the bottom. I like both of them. This was given to me as a gift. I'm not sure where I got this one. But you can decant in anything. You don't have to go out and buy some decanter and spend some money. Just go get a pitcher that you mix your Kool-Aid in. It doesn't matter. Get a bowl, something. The idea is to have a bigger surface area to allow oxygen to get to the wine. So let's try it out of the smaller decanter first. I'm going to do a little rinse because that blender really made a difference in the wine. I should have microwaved one. That would have been fun. Something wrong though about that. Something about that bothers me. I don't know what it is. Okay, so let's see how it does out of the smaller carafe, decanter, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. So this one, a little more aromatic on the nose. These have been in the decanters for a couple hours. I get a little more raspberry. The raspberry is brighter, for sure. Yeah, definitely the little more aromatics out of this one, out of this little decanter. Let's see how it tastes on the palate. Okay, a lot bigger, more powerful on the palate. I get a lot of that dark cherry. A little bit of that chocolate comes through now. Not as much as the hyper-decanting, but it's definitely more there than just straight out of the bottle or through the Venturi. And a load of spice on the backside. One of the things I get out of this that I didn't get from the hyper-decanting, it's a fresher, it's got that, the acidity seems to pop a little bit more out of the decanter. Definitely a grippier, bigger, bolder style of wine out of this small carafe or decanter container. So far, I like this one better. Now let's move on to the larger decanter. I love this thing. It just says red on the front. See it? Nice little decanter. Thank you very much, Chris, for getting that for me. I really appreciate it. On the nose, interesting, a little darker cherry, more aromatic than the hyper-decanting and the Venturi or straight out of the bottle. A little dusty element comes through. Again, a little more aromatic. Not as aromatic as the smaller one, which is, I find, very interesting. Now the smaller one, it had a bigger, remember, it had a bigger opening on the top, smaller surface on the bottom. This has a smaller opening on the top, larger surface. Let's see what we get on the palate. The acidity comes through. Interesting, not quite as powerful as the smaller carafe, but definitely I get that kind of grippy tannins, even though the Counoise is not very tannic. but I get that kind of grip action. Probably might be from the wood. Little cherry chocolate going on, little raspberry action in there. I'm just gonna do this one more time here. Yeah, very interesting. That's the one right there. This little carafe really brings out a lot of intensity. I would say this one definitely brings out some more characteristics. Hyper-decanter brought out the chocolate element big time. I get a little bit, there's a ton of spice down the back side of that, and a little carafe. And then the Venturi, I'm sorry, just didn't do it for me. Didn't seem to alter it very much. You know, it's fun, like I said, it's a fun little tool to have in your kitchen, kind of fun to play around with it. But if you have the time, get yourself a little carafe like this. Pour some of the wine in it, cook your dinner, get your meal prepared, and then drink the wine out of that. I guarantee you, you're going to enhance your experience. Bigger decanters, it worked really good. I liked it. Again, it just takes a little bit of planning. Come home, dump it in the decanter, do what you need to do, change your clothes, do your thing to get relaxed, cook your meal, whatever it is, then your wine will be ready to go. You know, like I said, fun, but yeah. And if you want to just have a little bit of fun, throw some in a blender. What the heck? See how it turns out. It didn't hurt it. It was kind of fun to do. It definitely changed it. Good way to go. Well, I hope you learned something for this. I know I did. Here's to keeping the snob out of wine. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.